friendship, a cat-shaped hole, this thing, arachnophobia, giant ladders to space, bunnies. This is Omori. Omori is a simplistic RPG game where you play as a group of friends exploring a dreamlike world, fighting monsters, and having picnics. As you explore the world, you slowly discover the difference between reality and fantasy and figure out what's actually going on. At its core, Omori is an RPG with a huge emphasis on its story. In this game, you do a ton of exploration, broken up by plenty of dialogue and fighting. In your travels, you find a lot of really weird enemies to face, including the evilest foe you can imagine, bunnies. Well, a hateful leaf told me bunnies were evil, so it must be true. Omori is a game with two sides, one with a higher emphasis on the action and combat, and another that focuses more on story and exposition. Honestly, this game is more a story game than anything else. The story itself is a dark, emotional journey that slowly unravels as you progress, but remains a mystery for the better part of the game. There's a lot of dialogue in Omori, and it's all incredibly well written. With each cutscene, you get to delve deeper into each of the characters' personality, and at the end of it, you end up with some incredibly fleshed out characters who feel real. Between the dialogue, you explore a dreamlike world, meet interesting creatures, and smash watermelons for the prizes inside them. You also run into strange and angry creatures looking for a can of whoop-ass served by the four friends. Most of the game is spent exploring and looking for goodies or quests to find. There's a lot to explore, and there really isn't that much guidance beyond the initial go here and check there from dialogues, and that was perfect. That combined with the watermelons hidden everywhere and interesting NPCs to talk to behind every corner made the exploration super fun. Omori challenges you to look everywhere and check everything because there's a lot to find. Whether you find healing items, weapons, equipment, quests, or even just Easter eggs that add on to the story. Every nook and cranny seems to have something, and they're always fun to find. The exploration never got old for me, and right when I thought I was lost, I always stumbled on something new and interesting to reinvigorate my attention span. Though there isn't too much inherent guidance, Omori does a great job of pointing you to the right place when you need it. And anyway, it's just fun to have a trail of little guys following behind you like little 8-bit ducklings. In your exploration, you find a lot of strange creatures, and most of them want you dead. The combat is turn-based, and because the combat is 4-on-1, it's never too hard, but luckily it's not too easy either. There's a good balance to the combat, and there are so many factors to consider, it was always fun to strategize my party's next move. There are a ton of elements to the fights. You can attack, use skills, items, or even special follow-up moves or an ultimate when the characters interact with each other. On top of that, there's a mood mechanic that changes how attacks and damage work. All of this boils down to combat that's consistently interesting and challenging, at least before you get over-leveled. You level up your characters as you gain experience from fights, and you can also influence their stats by giving them items you find along the way. The best way to influence the characters though is through their skills. As the characters level up or complete quests, they gain skills to use in combat. Each character can only hold 4 skills though, so what you choose is really what makes that character special. This made the combat prep feel kinda like Pokemon. The skills you chose really determined how your team is going to work in the end. I do have mixed feelings about the combat though. When I first started, I loved it and was always looking forward to the next fight. Don't get me wrong, the combat in this game is fun as hell, but near the end of the game I was actively avoiding fights or just running away and just trying to get to the next bit of story or the next boss. This is because after taking every fight for the first part of the game, I got over-leveled for the common bunnies or shark planes, and it became nothing more than a chore to beat them. Luckily, it's pretty damn easy to avoid them altogether, or if you can't, to just bravely run away. The bosses were a different story altogether. I loved each boss fight. They all have special mechanics and were all a fun challenge to overcome. Though I never lost a fight while playing this game, the challenge that came with the boss fights were always a great way to end a stage. I'm not going to get into specifics here, but the story of this game is dark. In it, you'll find depictions of suicide, self-harm, anxiety, and depression. The story is incredibly well written, and the characters in it even more so. You don't know what's going on for most of the game, but slight clues are given to you through the dialogue, giving you breadcrumbs about the story as you progress in the game. I loved the story of this game, and honestly, it's the reason I love this game as a whole. It's a crazy emotional journey from start to finish, and it's super fun to watch it play out. Also worth mentioning, there's a bunch of endings you can discover, making this game incredibly replayable by making different choices for each playthrough. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room. The resolution is weird, almost as if the game was made to be played in windowed mode. To be honest, this took me back for a little bit, but before long, it didn't really bother me anymore. It's really not a big deal. Besides that, the graphics are simple but cute. The overworld has some great animations and environments. There are a bunch of environments to explore too, which changed up pretty frequently, and so it doesn't have much time to get stale. The graphics for the battles are the coolest graphics in the game. The close-ups of all the strange creatures you fight are a treat, and paired with some of the cool fight animations and music, the battles have the best aesthetics in the whole game. Speaking of music, there's a lot of it and it's all cool, especially in the battle sequences. With each environment, you get a whole new set of music that perfectly sets the scene, and the battle music is epic, even more so when fighting a boss. Omori took me by surprise, which wasn't hard because I had no idea what I was getting into when I started it. I didn't expect to love the simple graphics, exploration, and combat as much as I did. Before playing this, I'd heard from many people that this game was fantastic, and they weren't wrong. What really made it worthwhile though was the story. It's a truly haunting tale and definitely worth playing the game for, because it's one of those endings you just won't see coming. Omori is a game that takes simplicity and makes it amazing. Even though I didn't love every aspect of the game, the characters and story made it absolutely worthwhile to play. Thanks for watching. Check out my first 15 minutes of gameplay if you want to see more. Like if you liked it, sub if you loved it, and I'll see you in the next one.